Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Becoming Relentless. I am your host, Eleanor McCabe. I'm an IFBB bikini pro and an online health and fitness coach. And today is the 3-year anniversary of Becoming Relentless, which is actually so insane to me. I was thinking about it on my drive over. I've been thinking about it for a while, but it really just hit me when I was driving over this morning to record that we have 3 years worth of podcasts under our belts. And it's just insane. So for those of you who have been here since the very beginning, since November of 2022, thank you. I don't even know what to say except for thank you, because without the listeners, without your support, without the people that I've gotten to connect with because of this podcast, like it just wouldn't exist. So I think what I want to do today is just a very casual, like raw and real chat about what 3 years of Becoming Relentless has taught me, what it's taught us, some of the most like common themes or like the top talked about things that we've gone over. I'm just going to kind of recap it all, talk about it, let you guys know if anything has changed as far as like my opinions or if like the science in anywhere has changed. And we'll just kind of go from there. So let's talk about what Becoming Relentless means. Because if you go all the way back to the very first episode, Danielle, Cecily, and I sat down and we talked about becoming relentless and like what that meant to each of us. And that episode is still very much out. Like it's posted on YouTube, it's on Spotify, so you guys can go back and listen to it. Give us some grace, because that was the very first time that we sat down, all three of us together, and just did it. We didn't try to practice beforehand. We talked about it, like what we wanted to go over, but we hadn't actually practiced anything. We hadn't scripted anything. I don't even think we really had an outline. We just sat down and did it. So I think that in itself speaks to the core of the podcast, that Becoming Relentless truly is about becoming a better version of yourself every day in any way possible. And just thinking about that, it's just wild to me to think that we have come this far. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about what Becoming Relentless means to me now. And if we go back to that first episode, I talked a lot about relentlessly pursuing a goal. And I think my frame of mind back then, and like all three of ours, honestly, we were so enmeshed within bodybuilding that I think our lens and our focus was very much bodybuilder, the lifestyle and everything about the sport. Whereas now, when I think about this podcast and when I think about becoming relentless in general, bodybuilding is a very small fraction of that. I think that bodybuilding can be the vessel, can be the mode in which you pursue becoming relentless. But I think ultimately, like, becoming relentless can be for anybody and everybody. And it's more so about, I guess what I'm trying to say is 3 years into this, and I really don't think that this show is about bodybuilding anymore. I don't think it ever was, but I think that I think Becoming Relentless is about becoming the kind of person who doesn't quit on themselves. And if you've been listening, even quietly, you're still doing the work. I think that year 4 is going to be a much deeper year. We're going to expand beyond what we've been talking about as far as like the sport, mindset, and I think I want to take it deeper. So some of the top themes from this podcast obviously have been like prep and competition centered, which I'm still going to do episodes like that because I know a large part of my audience is competitors, and I love that. As a coach, I'm starting to move away from coaching only competitors because I find a lot of fulfillment in teaching people how they can change their lifestyles outside of bodybuilding. Because bodybuilding is very rigid. Like it's not very, it doesn't allow for flexibility in some ways. It does and it doesn't. Whereas when I can coach somebody and help them go from 250 pounds to 150 pounds and their entire life, the way that they conduct themselves, how they carry themselves, the way that they dress, how they move through the world, like how they feel in their own bodies, like that is something so fulfilling that I want to continue doing. And I think bodybuilding has allowed me to build the business that I have so far and has allowed me to have this podcast for so long that I'll never quite step away from coaching bodybuilding, but I do want to focus more on like expanding outside of those things. But obviously a big portion of the content of Becoming Relentless has been focusing on what it really does take to compete in bodybuilding, especially in the bikini division, obviously. We've talked about the mindset, the physiology, nutrition, post-show consequences. So if you're looking for podcasts on prep, on competition, things like that, we will still be talking about that. And I highly encourage you to also go back and listen to previous episodes around it as well, because we really have such a foundation of content around that. Some of the other themes that I've noticed is around like mindset, resilience, habits. I feel like this show, I am constantly addressing different psychological factors. So, how you can build resilience, how you can build your mental capacity, how you can deal with setbacks, develop these habits, and ultimately, how you can trust yourself, how you can build yourself into a person who trusts what they're going to say to themselves and trust that they're going to do what they say. An episode that stands out to me actually is the How Trusting Yourself Changes Everything, which is a recent episode that I did with Marissa. And in there, I think that podcast touched on a lot of the themes that I see, like that themes that are blah, blah, blah. I'm getting tripped up. I think that podcast like encompasses a lot of the themes that the Becoming Relentless podcast has touched on over the years, but essentially being able to focus on not only the physical side of things, not only bodybuilding prep, bikini prep, but also mindset and resilience mentally is something that I want to continue doing as well. So I guess really what I want to go over, because it's been 3 years and I feel like we've touched on so many different subjects, but as year 4 comes, like my goal for this podcast is to continue to keep those conversations going. So we've touched on things from physical, psychological, your mental health, your spiritual health, your emotional health. I've had guests on that range from bodywork specialists to functional health specialists to fellow coaches, clients, athletes, friends. And I just want to keep doing that with the podcast, keep bringing on people who have unique stories, who have their own journey to tell. And I think that that is what makes this podcast like so relatable and entertaining for many people. So for year 4, I've mapped out a couple more exciting guests. And of course, I'll continue to add to that, but we'll have some more people coming on where we can really deep dive into some of the topics that maybe we haven't before. You guys are going to have to forgive me. My voice comes and goes. You probably noticed like in the last episode as well, but I think that it's either allergies or my immune system has just been taking a beating this year, but I just keep getting sick. So you'll have to forgive me if my voice comes in and out. Drinking my tea here. So let's dive in and talk about some of the lessons that I have learned through podcasting. And the biggest one that I think everybody has definitely heard me talk about multiple times, but it is so key, is the fact that discipline is never going to be sexy. Like consistency and discipline and showing up time again, like whether you're knocked back down, whether you step off the path and have to come back to it, you get off track and you have to come back. Over time, all that really matters is consistency. And that consistency comes from building discipline. And building discipline comes from the daily habits that you do every day. We talk about that, the boring, repeatable habits. But if I'm being honest, like on my drive over here, something that I was also thinking about, and I was talking to myself out loud about it, was the fact that this year for me, like in particular, personally, has looked so different from previous years. And I think a big thing that I've fallen off with is the discipline that I built over time. Like those small habits, that discipline, the lifestyle that I was living, I feel like I have gone away from that for like the last year. And of course, there have been like the GI protocol. I was on protocol for that. But outside of that, really, like I feel like this year has kind of been the year of me trying something different, trying a different lifestyle, doing something different. And I can't say that I necessarily like it, to be honest. And I know this probably seems like off track, but I promise it's coming full circle. So I was driving over here, I was thinking about it, and I was like, this year in particular, I have allowed myself to pursue things and do things that were more instant gratification based, that were more, I want to do this now, so I'm going to. And I guess maybe it would be better if I like anchored this in an example. So for example, like last weekend, I woke up, like I slept in late, woke up, didn't go for a walk, didn't do cardio, didn't do something hard to start my day, which is normally, like in the past, that's what I've done. I like to get up and get after it, right? I haven't done that in a while. I get up, like I sleep in, get up, maybe eat breakfast, maybe don't, sit down, watch TV, maybe scroll on my phone. And I'm not saying that any of this is bad. Like I kind of want to put a little asterisk here. I'm not saying that it's not okay to do these things. But for me personally, I do not find any joy or fulfillment or relaxation. I don't enjoy doing that. And it's been really weird because in the moment, like in the morning when I wake up, in the moment, it feels nice to just lay there and maybe scroll on my phone or just lay there and go back to sleep and sleep in. But then with the rest of my day, I just have this sense of discontentment. And I know I'm finally clocking it, right? I haven't really brought this into full awareness, I feel like, until very recently, where it was like, oh, I'm doing these lazy Sundays or I'm doing these lazy days where I'm letting myself do and eat and experience and kind of just whatever I feel like doing in that moment, I do, like that instant gratification. Whether it's like if I want to skip the gym, I skip it. I want to sleep in, I sleep in. I want to just watch TV all day, I just watch TV all day. Like those things that I didn't do before, I'm doing now, and I'm not enjoying it. Like I was driving over here and my mind keeps going back. The whole point of this is my mind keeps going back to the reason why I love bodybuilding so much and why I think the sport has changed my life so significantly is because it's shown me what it's like to work really hard and achieve difficult goals and push myself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually to the extremes and come out the other side better. And I find a lot of fulfillment in that. And I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with, I'm sure you are, but Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot. And something that I really like that he speaks on is the fact that like human beings are wired for challenge. We are wired to climb the mountain, right? And whatever that mountain is, it's different for everybody. But it's really hard to find fulfillment and purpose and meaning in your life when you're just pursuing pleasure or when you're just pursuing things that are easy. And I think that that's what this year has taught me. And I'm sure you guys have picked up on it here and there throughout the podcast. Like, I've been trying different things, and I think that I've been trying to find that sense of fulfillment and purpose and meaning again outside of bodybuilding. And I've caught like little glimpses of it, but it only comes when I'm doing something challenging that makes me a better person. And I don't know if any of this is like really making sense, but ultimately, I feel like bodybuilding taught me that it's okay to do boring, monotonous things day after day after day that move the needle forward when you're pursuing a specific goal. And I feel like this year I kind of got lost in the weeds with that, where like I have not been doing that. And now I'm like looking back and reflecting and seeing it. And I'm like, oh, that's why I'm currently feeling the way that I'm feeling. It's not necessarily that I don't like, how I lived the past year. Like I've had plenty of fun experiences and memories. I've met a lot of new people. I have a new community, but it's just like the lifestyle that I'm living, I know that that is not what's going to bring me the ultimate happiness. Like I already know I don't like this. And so now it's up to me and I have the power to go and change that. And I think bodybuilding is something that a lot of us fall back on. And it's something that I easily could fall back on, right? Like I could be like, okay, I don't like the way I'm living. So I'm going to go hire a coach and go right into prep and like force myself to self correct, right? But if I did that, I think that I would just be repeating like the past. And I don't think that that would actually make me better. I think what I need to find is the middle ground. And my best friend Bailey tells me this all the time. Like, she's like, you're way too comfortable in the extremes, right? Like, I'm very comfortable bodybuilding, in prep, dieting, knowing that I have a tangible list of things that I have to do every single day to get better and to get closer to that goal of getting on stage. And if I'm not there, then I'm like, I'm relaxed. I'm not working out. I'm not tracking what I'm eating. I'm, consuming a lot of mind numbing media. Like, I don't even really like to watch TV. You guys know me. Like, I don't even own a television. So the fact that I have been watching shows and movies and this and that, and like, it almost frustrates me because it's so easy. It's like right there in front of us. And I know I feel it. I'm about to go off on a tangent, so bear with me. But it just like kind of irks me when I'm out and about, or I'm like even with friends, and like we're all just on our phones. And I know, it's so cliche. I know everybody talks about it. There's like, oh, I wish that we could go back to a time. It's just like low key. It's not that I wish we could go back to a time. It's just that I wish that we weren't also constantly distracted and like numbing ourselves with like our cell phones. And that's a completely different thing. I'm not going to get bogged down in that, but like I notice myself doing it. I notice the people closest to me doing it. And it's just like, damn, like we are really just out here on our phones, not fully enjoying life and being present. And I think that, of course, there's a balance. Like, I don't think that we need to get rid of social media and cell phones and this and that, and all of a sudden everything will improve. I don't think that's the answer. But I do think that, like, there's a huge issue right now with just distraction and, like, instant gratification. And I feel like I've kind of lived it. And now that I see that, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to live that way. I don't want to do that anymore. And one of the things that keeps coming up in my mind is, like, I'm becoming relentless in all of these different areas, right? Like I want to fight distraction. I want to be relentless when it comes to honing my attention span and pursuing the things that actually matter, that are right in front of me, instead of just like being so easily distracted and being on my phone and like missing these like small, beautiful moments in life. So all of that is to say, like, I think real progress when it comes to self-improvement, when it comes to anything in life, real progress, it's not these big, extreme, like firework moments. I think that real progress comes from quiet, constant consistency. And it doesn't mean that like you're not allowed to fall off, or that whatever path you're on isn't going to change, because it is. And you're going to have to pivot and you're going to have to adapt, and like things in life happen. But I do think that ultimately, at least for me, And I think a lot of people listening, if you have been listening for this long, like if you love the Becoming Relentless podcast, if you love fitness, if you love bodybuilding, then like you have the mindset around growth and improvement and constantly trying to better yourself. And so I think if that's the case, like just knowing that what you do on a daily basis, it does matter. And it's okay if you've gone a different direction, if you've strayed like from your original path. It's okay. Like it's okay if you're not currently pursuing your goals with tenacity and you're just cruising, or maybe you're like you've just stopped and you're smelling the flowers and you're not pursuing anything heavily right now. Like that is all okay. It really is. I think ultimately you have to keep deciding every single day what you want to do in order to become relentless in whatever facet that means for you. And then just keep taking small steps forward. And that could look like anything. But waking up, knowing that you're pursuing something and that you're going to do at least one thing that day consistently to get you closer to the goal, like that is going to move the needle. And that is going to put you ahead of most people. All right, another lesson. That was that was a lot. But ultimately, I think like one of the biggest lessons that you can learn from Becoming Relentless, the podcast, is that discipline is not sexy. It's not like the fun, glamorous things. It means sometimes sacrificing instant gratification and doing something that you don't feel like doing because you know in the long run it is going to get you closer. A second lesson that I wanted to touch on for the podcast was you can't outsmart your biology. So this is something that I talk about a lot, especially in the contest prep realm, but I think it's even more applicable when it comes to lifestyle as well. A lot of people, if they want to lose weight, like let's say you wake up, you're like, you know what, I'm done. Like I want to lose weight. If you just go crash diet, cut your food, do a bunch of cardio, that is going to completely shift your metabolism. It's going to crash your hormones. Like there's a lot of downstream effects from that. And I think ultimately people are always looking for a shortcut. They're always looking for the easiest thing instead of maybe what is going to be the smarter thing. And your biology is smart. And so we've really gone over that a lot in terms of, I would say, like prep, like hunger cues post prep, stress, like wrecking your progress, wrecking your sleep, hormones, the different fluctuations in your hormones and what that can mean. But all in all, like you have to understand your physiology, like your body doesn't necessarily care about your aesthetic goals or your weight loss goals or your prep goals. Like your body doesn't care about your timeline. Your physiology is going to fight and do what it's been wired to do biologically to survive, to keep you alive. So knowing that, I think being able to support your body and not fight it is going to give you the biggest chance of change and is going to be able to help you actually make like long lasting changes. Like it's going to bring you more longevity. Something else. Sorry, bear with me. I'm sorry. I know my throat is terrible. So something else that I noticed was kind of like a big lesson or a theme within this podcast has been environment and how environment does matter. And I've done plenty of episodes around this. You guys know that. But I think you have to understand your environment wins over your willpower. So you could be the strongest willed person in the world. And chances are, if you're into bodybuilding or you're into fitness, you are probably strong willed. I know that I'm strong willed. That's something that people have used to describe me. But my willpower won't win out around my environment 100% of the time. And a big way that I've seen that is like literally through my work environment, especially this last year. I think every single time, like your relationships, your home life, your routine, your support system, all of these things genuinely alter your success. You become like the people around you. And we've talked about this. The people that you are closest to, the people that you talk to the most, hang out with the most, party with the most, work out with the most, those people, work with, whoever is around you, you become like them. And to be quite honest, I've 100% seen that this year, because I was even thinking back, like, when did I move to Texas? And how did all this happen? Like, how did I get here? I was thinking about that the other day. I moved to Texas in August of 2022 with my ex and my 2 dogs, and we lived in Buda, and we were around TM and like the team and the coaches. And I was very much just like deep into bodybuilding. And I feel like that year, 2022 to 2023, even though I never stepped on stage that year, you all know the story. I wanted to. I prepped the whole year basically. We won't go into it. That might have been one of the best physiques I've ever had. I'm not like, when I go back and look at those check-in photos and I look at how much I was putting into bodybuilding, it was quite literally everything. The relationships around me, bodybuilding based. My home life revolved around my bodybuilding schedule, my routine, my support system. Everybody in my life at that point that I talked to on a daily basis was into bodybuilding, was a bodybuilder, or had seen me bodybuilding enough to understand the lifestyle fully. The trajectory of my success then versus now is completely different, but also like my focus is different, right? My environment this year is different, so that makes sense. And I'm not saying any of this in like a negative or positive light. It's more so like I can genuinely look back and see different times in my life, that year and like those people specifically being an example, where the environment around me was helping to boost me and push me versus just my own willpower. Because when it comes down to my own willpower, I might be a disciplined person. I'm not perfect. I'm not inhuman. Like, I have my own sweet tooth. I have my own desires to go off plan. Like, I'm not a perfect coach, athlete, bodybuilder, podcaster, whatever. But the people around me genuinely do have such a huge effect on how I move and how I show up and how close I'm getting to achieving my goals and how far I'm getting from some of my goals. So it's like I have seen it firsthand. And I think back then I spoke about it. Like there's definitely episodes I know where Cecily, Danielle, and I talked about it. And then I think when it was just Danielle and I, there's some episodes from then too where we talked about environment, because our core group then was changing so much that like our environment of people was always changing. And then we were always changing gyms. And then I left TM and I joined A team. And then like that environment, how that affected me. Like there's just so many real examples that I can see now that back then, yes, I was talking about it, but I didn't fully understand what I was talking about. And I just think it's really funny because anyone can sit like behind a camera and like a microphone and they can talk as an authority and you can believe them, but you never really know like if that person has felt or experienced what they're talking on. And I feel like for me, like I'm constantly experiencing and growing that I can like look back and be like, oh yeah, I was talking about that back then. I had not a clue in the world about what I was talking about. Which is because it's just funny. Like back then, I thought like I was very convicted that like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. And your environment affects you. And it does. Like I was spitting truth. Like everything I said back then, it's true. It's just I hadn't lived it, if that makes sense. Like I hadn't quite had the experience brought into my awareness yet. And now that we're talking about like all the different themes and all the different ways that things have changed, like I really feel like I can attest to how your environment can positively affect you and how it can also negatively affect you. Um, I think all too often, like I was talking about this with one of my athletes the other day. She brought up how she left a negative work environment and went to a work environment where they were curious about her meal prep. They were curious about her bodybuilding. And we were talking about how her progress had started to just pile on. Like she had gained a lot more momentum leaving that negative work environment. And then I was even thinking about my work environments, like the sales job that I had at the beginning of the year and the new sales job that I have now. It's like a night and day difference. And I love the people that I met at that sales job. I love the experience that I had there. Um, but it wasn't a good work environment. It was toxic, like in all shapes and forms. And like that also I think has had a hand in this year and like me kind of straying off the path, if you will. Like now I have that experience of like, oh yeah, that's not a positive work environment. Like that's not a good place for me to be if I'm trying to achieve certain goals. So we've talked a lot about that on the podcast, toxic friendships, prep relationships, friendships in general, business relationships, business growth. I've had people on this podcast that we've had amazing conversations with, and like I don't talk to them anymore. Like those friendships are gone. But I think all of that is to say, like, your environment, who you choose to be around, where you choose to be, it does have a real life effect and consequence on your life. And it's not a bad thing to sit and kind of audit, like, okay, are the people around me the people that I want to be like? Are they leading lives that I would be happy leading? Like, do they inspire me? Do they motivate me? Do they challenge me? And I don't think that every single person in your life has to do all of these things. Like, I also don't think that's necessary. I genuinely have friendships where it's like, this person lives in a way that I would never want to live in, but their personality, their soul, who they are, is somebody that I'd want to be like. Like, they inspire me as a person. So I think, like, not everything has to be transactional, I guess, or not everybody has to always challenge you or inspire you or all of these things. I think as long as like each of your friendships have a piece of that, right? Like so that you're all making each other better all of the time. Trying to think. So another lesson is we've talked a lot about I talked about myth busting. I don't like the way I wrote that. I have an outline in front of me. Sorry. But I'm like, I don't like the way I wrote that. So another thing that we've really dived into on this podcast is just transparency, like being honest and open about the demands of the sport, what coaching is like, what you can expect when you're in the sport, what you can expect around identity, being an athlete, being in a show, prepping, cutting, bulking, reversing, the holidays, all of that stuff. I feel like we've touched on PEDs, disordered eating, like food obsession, weight gain, relationships stress, the dark corners of prep. Like, I think something that I really strive to do on this podcast is just be open and honest about both my experience as an athlete, my experience as a coach, anecdotal. I wanted to say stories, but just like anecdotes around the sport in general, but also around health and fitness in general. I feel like we've done a really good job of talking about uh, just the nitty gritty and being honest. Because I think a lot of the time, like, there's just a lot of information out there. And there's a lot of misinformation, especially around the sport, around competing, around health and fitness. And so I think one of my main goals is just keeping it honest and making sure that you guys understand as well. Like, I'm not sitting here on some sort of like pedestal of like, oh, you should be like me or your journey should be like me. More so, I want to just talk honestly and openly about what my experiences have been and the lessons that I've learned and the hardships that I've gone through and the challenges that I've faced, and essentially put that all out there so that somebody can hopefully take something away from that, or at the very least, you know that you're not alone if you're going through some of the same things. So as far as this podcast goes, like, I'm always going to be very honest and open about what is going on. And I think I've tried to do that from the start. And so as we continue with the podcast, that's just honestly one of the foundations here. Like, I think becoming relentless includes being extremely honest, both with myself and with you guys as the listeners, so that nothing here feels inauthentic. And that is one of my favorite compliments that I get when I meet y'all in person is a lot of the time people say like, "Oh, you're just like how you are online." And it's like, yeah, I am not trying to put up a mask. I'm not trying to be somebody that I'm not. I'm just a girl. I'm just somebody who wants to make a difference in the world, and I think the way that I can do that is by being honest about what I've gone through in bodybuilding, what I've experienced as, somebody who's been on different teams, has been in different parts of the sport. Um, and honestly, just what I learn over time with all of those experiences. Because the other thing is like someday I'm going to come on here and be like, yeah, I'm getting married or I'm having children. And I think that that is going to be so much fun. And so just if I can keep being honest with everybody and keep sharing my journey in this honest, open way, like ultimately that's just what I want to do. I want to help change the world. I want to help impact people. I want to just be as helpful as I can, I guess. um, and then another goal or another lesson that I wanted to touch on was around self-trust and confidence. And I think it was a couple weeks ago, I went on my Instagram story and I said, to be honest with you guys, like I haven't been very confident. And obviously it makes sense why that I'm not confident. It's because I have not been building my self-trust through kept promises. I've said, "Oh, I'm going to get back on. Oh, I'm going to do my cardio again. Oh, I'm going to get, back on track and do my meal prep and this and that." And like maybe I will for a few days and then I fall right off again, right? And I think a big reason that my self-confidence hasn't been what it was in the past is not only am I not doing the things that I tell myself that I'm going to do, I'm also not doing things that I know will make me better. So, almost like what I was saying at the beginning of this podcast, I think human beings are wired for challenge. And I think for me in particular, the inner drive that I have is I only get a sense of relief from that drive when I am doing something difficult. So whether that means waking up at 5 and doing cardio, no, nobody wants to do that. Nobody ever. Like I've had people I've had people ask me like, "Oh, how do you do it?" Or like, "I don't think I could ever do that." And it's like, dude, I don't want to get out of my warm bed at 5 in the morning and go do that. Like I don't want to, but I know that it makes me feel good. I know that it's good for me and I know that it gets me closer to my goal. So it's not a matter of want. It's not a matter of feel. And what I've been able to do over the years is build up that muscle. But I think this year, like, has proven to me that even with that discipline muscle, like, even though I have a foundation built, like, it's still possible for me to not do it. And the result has been no confidence. Um, and the other part of that is like my skin and people closest to me, like they know, but I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast as openly. I know I've talked a little bit about like my health struggles, and I think at this point there's a lot of different things and there's a couple personal things that I won't get into, at least not at this time. I will at some point when I like feel comfortable talking about it, but like my skin has been a huge reason why my confidence has gone down as well, because it's just like I'm used to being able to just like pop on my stories and like open up the camera and just talk. And with the acne that I've had, every time I open up the front camera, I'm just like, I don't want to see myself, I guess. So I think I put it on my Instagram, but I'm finally doing something about it. I'm going to a dermatologist. I'm starting to get some skin treatments. I'm going to do like a chemical peel. And then when all of the active acne has kind of like been subsided, then I'll start like microneedling for the scarring and stuff. But it's just been kind of a damper, I guess, if you will. But I also think that it's been tied to some of my health stuff. So I did the GI protocol and things were really good for a while. And then all of a sudden, like my skin started getting really bad. My hormones are all tanked. And I haven't been on anything. So I'm not on TRT. I'm not on HRT. I'm not on anything. And I haven't been for going on 6 months now. But all of my endocrine system is not really functioning because my hormones were all tanked, like even my cortisol. If you guys remember last year, I had like a cortisol of 25. It's dropped all the way down to like 6. So something's going on. But I will say, like, I'm very lucky, or not even, I don't even want to say lucky because I think like we create our own luck. I'm very grateful and very blessed that I have people in my corner to help me with my health stuff. And also the fact that I am so on top of it. Like, if I wasn't getting, you know, regular blood work done, I don't think that I would be able to pinpoint and like address the issues as they come up. And so I am very grateful for that. And I'm grateful that I'm able to figure out the root cause of what's going on with me. But with confidence and self-trust, and I even had this conversation with an athlete about imposter syndrome. The reason why you might feel imposter syndrome and like a lack of confidence, it comes from comparison and then also not keeping promises to yourself. So if you're looking to build your self-confidence, you have to start small and you have to celebrate those small wins, but you have to prove to yourself that you're actually going to commit to and follow through on what you say you're going to do. Ultimately, that is what leads to confidence. When I think about when I was the most confident in my life, it was when I was relentlessly pursuing my goals, and I had self-trust built because I knew if I said I was going to get up at 5 and do cardio, I was going to get up at 5 and do cardio no matter what, rain or shine. Um, so starting there, like, start with making the promise to yourself and then following through and doing it. That's what's going to build the self-confidence. That's what's going to build uh, trust. And ultimately, once you prove to yourself that you follow through and you'll do these things, you won't have any issues with syndrome. Okay. I think that's all of like the themes and the lessons that have really stuck out to me that I wrote about. But I want to take like the last few minutes just to kind of talk about why I started the podcast and how it looks different now and like where we're going. So, we started the podcast originally because we wanted to educate and bring awareness to different facets of the sport. And like I said at the beginning, I think that this podcast has become more than bodybuilding, much more. But that was the original reason why we started it. I think we wanted to solve the problem of, not having a lot of women voices. Like, a lot of the top podcasts these days, especially in fitness, come from men, right? Like, there's a lot of male voices out there. And I think that for us, we wanted to be able to speak to women and just bring about like a women's based podcast. Um, Now, I think that the podcast very much, we're still very much, the audience is largely women, but there is a good chunk of men that listen to this podcast, which is awesome. But I think now why I keep the podcast going is for much larger reasons. Like, for me, I want to impact the world in some way, and this is my way of doing that. And I think that it's become much larger for me than bodybuilding. Like, it's become, how can I help people become the best versions of themselves by using my own experience, by using my athlete's experience, by continuing to learn and like seeking out like new and improved science, like making sure that I'm continuously growing my mind and continuously seeking out mentors and learning from different people. Like, how can I take all of that and put it in one place where people can tune in every week and learn something? Ultimately, I think that's what I want to accomplish. Is I just always want us to be growing and learning and changing and becoming relentless. So as we move forward, my goal for this podcast, I can't wait to get to like 200 episodes. I think that is going to be a really big milestone for us. But But outside of just metrics, like where the podcast is going, we're going to continue to be a fitness-based podcast for sure, but I want to expand beyond like contest prep and bodybuilding. I want to touch on different sports, different lifestyle, like expand in more into nutrition and how we can help grow and change every single day. So addressing more, I don't want to say like general, but I just want to address more. Like I want to open the scope of the podcast beyond just bodybuilding. Um, but like I said, I don't think I'll ever go away from bodybuilding because of everything that it's taught me. And the bikini division will always be my favorite. I tossed around the idea for a while of competing in fit model because the way the bikini is evolving, like for a while there, I was like, "Ugh, I don't know if I want to get that, like put on that much muscle mass." But ultimately, I set out to achieve a certain goal within bodybuilding, within bikini. And maybe this is me just being stubborn, but like I want to accomplish that goal. Like that goal is still on the horizon for me. And I think that walking away from that, I don't think that I would be happy. And I think fit model would be fun. And I do want to say something also, speaking of fit model, because when I did the episode on fit model versus bikini, I think that there were some comments I saw where people were unhappy that the way that I described fit model. I am not saying that fit model athletes don't have muscle. I don't think that at all. I've seen the division grow and change right in front of our very eyes this year. So I just want to apologize if that is how it came off. I know that fit model girls have muscle. I think ultimately the division looks like bikini did when it first started. And fit model, in comparison to bikini, they don't have nearly as much muscle. That's all that I wanted to say. I think if I wanted to transition to fit model, I would actually probably have to downsize a little bit, or I just wouldn't be able to get any bigger. And if I were to transition to fit model, the other thing I learned was I can't go from IFBB bikini to IFBB fit model. I'd have to go down to NPC and recompete for a pro card in fit model. And I think that could be fun. Like, I think that could be a fun challenge. I also just think about how much I dedicated to getting the pro card in bikini, and I think it would be something that I regretted if I didn't at least try to take my bikini pro card as far as I possibly could. And I don't think that I've done that yet. So I think I'm going to do that first. But ultimately, like the future of this podcast is that really we're just getting started. Like 3 years is quite the journey. It's been quite a long time of us podcasting, and there's just been so many changes. Like from episode 1 to this episode now, we've gone through different hosts, we've gone through different themes, different background pictures, and we've continued to evolve and grow and change. And that honestly is all thanks to you guys. It's thanks to the listeners. It's thanks to the support that you give. Every time that you guys tune in and listen to an episode and give me feedback and comment and DM me and tell me what you learned, like that is why I do what I do. So the future of the podcast really is that we're just going to keep showing up. We're going to keep consistently doing this thing. I'd like to see how far I can take the podcast, but I don't necessarily have any huge I wouldn't say that podcasting is something that I want to become like my full-time job. I really enjoy doing it as like a hobby, but I would like to get it sponsored. I think having a sponsorship or having a way to help like pay for the episodes, because right now I do everything out of pocket and I love it. Like I don't mind at all. But I do think it would be nice for me eventually to have some sort of like sponsorship so that I could record these like very, very consistently. But yeah, the future of the podcast is that there is going to be many, 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 many more to come. I know this episode was kind of like all over the place, but I really just wanted to like recap 3 years like as best as I could, which is really difficult to do. And just spend some time with you guys going over what I've learned, some of the top themes. And honestly, I'm just really excited for the future. I'm really excited to keep this going. So in the spirit of Thanksgiving, if you guys have made it this far, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I genuinely can't tell you how grateful I am to even have this podcast and have this platform to be able to speak to people all over the world, to be able to help guide or transform or even just be a part of your day. I'm so grateful. You choose to spend time listening to this podcast and spending time with me, listening to me yap away. I hope that there have been some useful nuggets over the years, and I keep hoping that I hope that you guys will keep showing up. So, thank you very much. I hope that everybody has a beautiful, relaxing, amazing Thanksgiving holiday, that you enjoy your weekend. And as always, it really helps me out if you can like, share, subscribe, send the episode to a friend, send your favorite episodes to your friends. It really does help me a lot. And if you guys ever want to chat, my DMs are open. Best way to reach me is Instagram. And then last thing, shameless plug, but if you are looking for a coach, if you're looking for somebody who is going to look at you as a whole person, treat you as not just a bodybuilding athlete, but as a holistic human being and help you achieve all of your goals, I am taking new clients. I am looking to grow and build my team. We have a really cool app. Everything will be in the app. Everybody that I've transitioned on there has loved it. So if you want to check it out, if you want to book a call with me, that will be in the links. You can also DM me on Instagram. We can schedule a call. But I always do a free consult call just to make sure that we are a good fit, that your goals are a good fit for me. I'm a good fit for you. We can answer questions. But if you've been curious, book that call. Let's chat. Let's talk. I would love to help you out. And as always, I hope that you guys keep becoming relentless.